Today we're going to be talking about direct care workers. You never know when you might need one, so stay tuned. Direct care workforce. We hear that a lot. Direct care workforce. And there's no one better to talk about it than someone who's been on that journey for a long time. Clara, thank you so much for being with us today. And Bethany, thank you for being with us as well. What do we mean when we say direct care workforce? Who are we talking about when it comes to caregiving?
There are many different kinds of direct care workers. They go by many names. You've probably heard them called a direct support professional, a personal care aide, home health aide, a caregiver. But they are distinguished. They do have some common tasks that they work on. But they work in all different settings, from a vocational community setting all the way to hospice end-of-life care. But typically it involves hands-on personal care, like these activities of daily living, like bathing and transferring, and the independent activities of daily living, like cooking and cleaning and things like that. So it's the hands-on personal care that most people think of when you hear the term direct care worker.
Are they always paid, or are they're, and I want to make the distinction between unpaid family caregivers who are in the home health program or the home health program, and direct care workers. What's the distinction there?
The distinction is often paid. The family members are not often paid. There are programs like home help through which family members can get paid. But when we talk about professional direct care workers, we're generally talking about paid workers.
Right. Those who we call in to take care of our loved ones, and they're paid through an agency or might be independent.
They might be independent, yep.
And are there enough of them, Bethany?
Not nearly. That's the real issue we're facing, Paula. Thanks so much for asking. We really think a lot about direct care workers in terms of that personal hands-on care. It's a lot of time and energy per individual receiving supports and services. So we really want to make sure that there's not just enough direct care workers to provide the services that individual needs, but also that there's time to build a meaningful relationship in that direct care worker individual partnership, and that the direct care workers are well prepared for the work that they're doing. They're well supported from their organization. They're well trained. They have the knowledge and skills that they need to go out and do the very best job they can for the people they support.
And we've all heard stories about older adults not wanting certain people in their home or not trusting folks. These folks are really trained, or should be trained, to take care of a loved one. They should be someone who is on a career path, perhaps, or has some other career trajectory, but not just in and out, right? They're not just in one day and out one day. You're talking about people who want to do this for a living?
That's how it should be. And to attach a number to this shortage, right now we estimate that Michigan alone needs approximately 36,000 more direct care workers than we currently have. And it's not just about a shortage of direct care workers, it's also about the astronomical turnover rate. So yes, Bethany's right. Ideally, you would have a longer term relationship with somebody who would get to know you, know what your preferences are, and then be able to honor those preferences. But the reality is that people get recruited into a job and then lose them. So retention is just as much of a problem as recruiting.
So ideally, what would Impart Alliance want to see happen for direct care workers, ideally?
Yeah, there's a number of strategies used to address the shortage. One of them is obviously increase wages and benefits, right? And we work closely with other advocacy groups, including the Michigan Wage Coalition, to make that happen. We've made some strides. But another major strategy is professionalizing this workforce. So you mentioned training is required. It is not required. It is required for certain types of direct care workers, such as certified nursing assistants. But all of the different kinds of direct care workers, the vast majority of them, there really are not any training requirements. Community mental health does a great job. They have some requirements, but when a worker goes through and completes those courses, there's not a special credential that they get. It's not recognized by the state as it should be. So training really is important. And when I say professionalizing this workforce, that means establishing some competency standards, having competency-based training, competency-based credentials. They need to be credentialed. Having career pathways, but also we're working on establishing some career success models, because it's not enough just to drop somebody into a job and say,
Right.
good luck, see
For
you
the
later.
rest of your life, yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with people who are struggling, and many of them are struggling on the edge economically. And I will always argue that one of the best things we can do is to make sure they have economic security and respect.
Absolutely. And that's part of the challenge, isn't it? Because they don't, you can't sit down at the kitchen table and tell your daughter, your son, or whomever that this is a good career path when there is no career path.
There are career paths, but we're really, and I think we are making great strides. I have to say the state of Michigan has done an amazing job in the last 4 years, since 2020. We do have a statewide direct care worker advisory committee. We have a number of really proactive initiatives going on, and other states are taking notice. Michigan really is out ahead of it, and we are doing some great things. But what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, you're correct in that it's kind of a cycle, right? If it's poorly paid, if there's a lack of training, if there's a lack of career pathways, people will continue to roll over, and then the employers are faced in this constant cycle of churn, and it's really hard to get them engaged in trying to break that cycle because of the concern that, well, people are just going to leave anyway if I invest too much in any one of my workers. So it's kind of a self-propelling downward spiral until someone comes in and tries to put some dynamite in that logjam. And we really believe that pulling all of those levers is the real impetus for the work that we do.
That's the
You
secret
can't
sauce.
drop in with just a training if it doesn't have a credential and a career pathway that goes with it, right? It's doing a little bit of all of those things and progressively raising the tide for all boats.
Yep.
You know, when I was in education a while back, it wasn't yesterday, they had licensed practical nurses, you had emergency medical technicians, and they always talked about laddering those careers. So you could use those credits, go on to the next thing, RN, medical assistant, whatever it might be. Is this something similar what you're looking at for direct care workers, that they might have that kind of a career path?
It is one kind of career path, and certainly we would like to position them so that they can move on to being an LPN, an RN, a med tech if they want to. But what we really need to increase the numbers of direct care workers is to have a career path into direct care work and a career path within direct care work, so that people are inspired to stay. Because if we keep moving them out, we aren't going to get those numbers that we really need.
And in every discipline, you kind of need that conveyor belt where you have those really seasoned and experienced, knowledgeable people who hold some of the organization and professional knowledge and support people that are new to the field. It needs to be that healthy mix. If you have only brand new people constantly rolling over, there's not a lot of that collegiality and support and growth in the profession. And I think that's one of the things we're most proud of at Impart Alliance, is when we have the chance to identify those direct care workers who love being a direct care worker and who want to stay in direct care work and find opportunities to grow and advance their career as still a direct care worker. And then we also have a lot of direct care workers who do have aspirations to go perhaps to nursing school or into medicine, and they love to build on those opportunities.
You know, lest we forget what happened during COVID and all the nursing, the healthcare staff, and what they went through day after day, just watching people. You can't put a price on someone who has a heart for caregiving. You just can't put a price on that. You can't say, they're invaluable. You can't say this is all you're going to do. You have to have a heart for this work. It's more than just it's more than just the what's next for me. In corporate America, almost all the time it's what's next, but not in this work. Either you have a heart for it or you don't. How do you measure that?
Yeah, you absolutely do, Paula. You're right. Most of the people that I've interviewed over the years say that it's their calling. It's a mission. They're doing it because they love to help people, but also they want to do it within a health setting. They want to be part of the healthcare team, right? But they want to do it in a way that really helps people on the ground level, helps them stay living at home for as long and independently as possible. And it's heartbreaking, really, to hear the reasons they're leaving. They're saying things like, I desperately want to do this, but I just can't afford to stay in this job.
And there's a limit to that calling and desire when it can't be overextended, right? People want to stay in these positions and do what they can, but they reach the limit where it's untenable for them. They can't afford the low wages that they're receiving. The schedule isn't conducive to having a family and doing the things that they need to do. And they feel driven out of the work that they want to have because of the lack of economic respect, because of the lack of inclusion, and the lack of organizational supports to support them, whether it's through education and training or leadership or scheduling and collaboration.
Right, and to that point, a lot of the fix, the way to address it, because these are systemic problems,
Right.
and so we have to do a lot of advocacy at the state level for policy changes and legislative changes that can really change the system itself and address all of these issues and not put the whole burden of recruitment and retention on the employers,
Right.
because they're out there suffering. They want to do good work too, right? But they can't because of the shortage, because of the reimbursement rate. It's not a true capitalistic system.
Who determines a reimbursement rate?
That's a great question. I would love to know that. It's
Many direct care workers are reimbursed for their services offered through programs funded by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
right, but at the state level, there's a formula. I'm not exactly sure what the formula is for what level of Medicaid reimbursement you get.
Right.
Right, but it's very, very low, and it's easy for people to say, just raise the price or raise the wages, right? And employers who are taking people with Medicaid, thankfully taking people who have Medicaid,
Right.
are there's a cap
They can't
on the
cover,
reimbursement,
right.
so they can't afford
They
to
can't
just
cover their
wage
expenses. Right.
increases, right?
When you talked about, was it 36,000 shortage? People don't realize, this impacts everybody because the fastest growing age in Michigan are those who are 85 years and older.
Right.
And so what we've learned is that people are literally outliving their money, and they're outliving their ability to have a kind of quality of life that they really deserve. And so having someone come in, and was it 90% of 91, 92, 93% of people want to age in place?
Right.
And if there's no one there to take care of them, if there's no one there to help them with activities of daily living, if there's no one available for that, then their choices are limited, very much so.
And individuals are outliving their familial caregivers.
Right.
Right. So many people identify, this
Right.
is the person I want to take care of me, my husband, my wife, my son or daughter, and they may not be able to provide the care that they intend to. And so the other element too for the direct care worker is they very often work in tandem with those family caregivers. Caregiving for many individuals is a 24/7 responsibility, and it may be your intention to take care of your parent or sibling, but you're going to at some point need someone to come help you out.
Right, especially if you're continuing to work yourself.
And if I could just give a couple of anecdotes about your point, this affects everybody, not just the people receiving care or the families.
Right.
It affects all of us. It affects the economy. It affects corporate world,
Right.
right? Because more and more, their employees
Taking
are
time
family
off.
caregivers, and
Right.
they're trying to juggle doing both. And so they're losing productivity. And we've done a couple of studies on college student caregivers because there's a shortage of family caregivers too. And so when the older family members start to get burned out or just can't handle it, they're looking at the younger groups, and there are a significant number of college students who are primary caregivers, and they're having trouble juggling school, creating a
Absolutely.
career, and their caregiving duties. So they often leave school, right? They're nervous that
Right.
they're not going to be able to get their degree,
Right.
if ever, on time or if ever. So it affects everybody.
Absolutely. And there's a website on the screen for people who want to access the caregiving resource guide that we have available. But if someone wants to find a direct care worker, what's the best way? What advice would you give? Where do they go? How do they know that they're getting someone who, a quality person? What do they do? What's the vetting process? Let's say I want to get a direct care worker to come into my home. What do I do?
Well, that's a great question.
Okay, would you call it agency or would you call
We have a number of great statewide partners, and we're unafraid to shout them out. One of the greatest resources for older adults in their community is their local area agency on aging. So we would always encourage folks to reach out to them. As you mentioned, the community mental health organizations, they're regionally based. They also are a lot of times the providers or communicate with those provider networks. And then of course there's a number of private agencies all across the state, and so many wonderful employers that really reach out to us to ask for our advice and to get our help. And so we know that there's a lot of really great employers and agencies all across the state that are looking for direct care workers and looking for clients to support and serve, and not just older adults, also many other adults living with disabilities in our communities who really benefit from having a direct care worker.
And that sandwich generation where children are taking care of their mother and their grandchildren, and their grandparents taking care of children as well.
I think a great starting point, though, is to contact your local area agency on aging, and they have counselors that can help guide you. People contact us. I was talking to two different families this past week, actually, and they can go to the agencies. They can look them up in the phone book, but they don't have a way of vetting them, right? And so they want to know other people's experience. So word of mouth is a big thing. But I think the area agencies on aging are a great place to start.
Absolutely, they're great partners.
Yep, and if it's if it's somebody who has intellectual, developmental disabilities, behavioral difficulties, you can contact the Community Mental Health Association. These are wonderful organizations that can help steer you in the right direction. But there's no master list of direct care workers that have already been vetted, and you can just access the list.
You talked about younger people. We were just at a conference recently in Austin, Texas, where I know if you've heard of Yaya Care, which is a college student was talking with us about college students who are getting into social sciences, healthcare, and mental health, who want to have the experience of taking care of someone, and they're doing that for 4 or 5 years, and they actually have a program now. I understand one's at Michigan State University, one's at Western, but it's becoming more nationwide. So college students, everyone's impacted by caregiving, literally everyone. But it was nice and refreshing to see a college student trying to do something about trying to help find the direct care workforce.
And there's a lot of fluidity in entering the direct care work field between family caregiving and professional caregiving. A lot of direct care workers we meet also do family caregiving or started out in family caregiving and then it became their vocation. So there is a lot of fluidity across the lifespan when people do direct care. And I think encouraging young people to seize upon those experiences as part of their career trajectory or also as part of their family role is such a wonderful experience.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I'm proud of, we are proud of at Impart Alliance, is that we are trying to use creative new strategies for recruitment and retention. And one of the things we know is that, we've been tapping the same populations for a long time for recruitment. What we're trying to do now is to reach out to non-traditional and marginalized populations to increase the pool and, have a nice, bi-directional, beneficial relationship. So we are reaching out to high school students, to tribal communities, immigrants, veterans. So, I think we are in very creative ways and trying to be very culturally sensitive. And think that if we start just building relationships with other potential direct care workers and then bring some recruiting strategies to those communities, that that's one way
to make a difference.
To
We've got about
increase the
a minute
numbers.
left. So if you had one action item that you'd like for people listening to this program to do to help support direct care workers, what would that action item be? What do you want people to do to help? And you've been at this in this fight for a long time. So in the 34 seconds we have, 30 or 40 seconds we've got left, tell people what they can do to help.
Well, Bethany has lots of ideas. I would say join our coalition. We have a coalition, and you can go to our website and join, and that simply means you're getting on our email list, and you will keep up to date with a lot of what we are doing, but we also send out policy action alerts. A lot has to happen at the state level
Right.
with systems changes.
Right.
And we need to mobilize a lot of people to be contacting legislators to make these changes happen. So join our coalition,
Yes.
right?
Right. And
I would say
quickly,
talk
quickly,
about direct caregiving.
quickly,
Talk
yeah.
about care work. Everyone either needs care or is providing care. Talk about what direct care means to you and build that respect for the profession and think about what your preferences would be. We always tell our
Thank
direct
you.
care workers to be person-centered. So
Thank you so much. And Claire, how long have you been doing this? How many years?
Of somewhere around 40 years. Yeah.
You're making a difference. Never forget that.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. I appreciate
Of
both of
course.
you being
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
CATA's regional mobility solutions can help seniors seize the day. Hear what riders and community leaders have to say about the value CATA brings to the lives of aging adults.
My name is Patsy Dillard, and I'm a Spectran and a big Cata rider for the buses, and I enjoy riding Spectran, Cata. I've been riding for like 30 years now, and then I ended up in a wheelchair. So I'm riding the big bus, and I'm like, it took me a long time, like almost a year, when I had my chair that I wasn't test driving it on the bus. But I finally got enough courage, and I started riding the bus, and I became a pro with it. Could turn, hit the right spots, and I really could bag up in there, and I really enjoyed riding. And I had got a car, and I was like, it's more cheaper to keep riding the bus, and it's more safer for me. So that's what I continue to do. And now I'm not in the wheelchair anymore, thank God. I graduated to a walker. Bus drivers on Spectran, they're like, yeah, you're still doing it. And it's been a year and a half now. And I've been walking on my own, and they always give me props, like, keep up the good work, and I love it. The wheelchair riders don't know that. You can get in touch with Spectran or CATA system, and they'll give you little strips that go on your chair where you can lock it onto your safety belt on the bus. So a lot of people that don't know that, that's cool. Well, Spectran, they pick me up door-to-door service, and I love that. And I can just walk right out my door and to my doctor's office, no hesitation, and I love it like that. The proof is in the pudding when they come and get me, so yes, Cata, just keep what you're doing, keep on doing it, because I love it, and there's no problem with it.
Hi, I'm Courtney Calkins. I'm a PA that works at Great Lakes Center of Rheumatology. Today we'll be talking about vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D is a vitamin that it provides many important functions in the body. The most important is that it allows calcium and phosphate to remain in the body, which helps prevent osteoporosis and promote good bone health. It also helps muscle and immune function. 3 common reasons why vitamin D deficiency happens is number 1, it's not included in your diet enough. Number 2, it's being absorbed improperly through the intestines. And number 3, it is not being processed well due secondary to liver or kidney disease. The recommended average dose of vitamin D remains around 600 to 800 international units, but this varies based off your past medical history as well as your baseline screening. Common reasons or diseases that vitamin D deficiency can happen is 1, celiac disease, cystic fibrosis, Crohn's disease. Also, we see it very commonly in post-bariatric patients. Vitamin D, there is a screening bloodline test for it. Again, if your primary care feels that it's necessary to screen it based off your past medical history, they will run that blood test. Ways to absorb or increase your vitamin D is number 1, through the diet. Common reasons or common places to get it is orange juice, milk, canned tuna, a bunch of other options, but those are going to be your most common foods. Also increasing or taking a daily supplement, capsules, pills, whatever you prefer, or a prescription through a provider. There is also technically the sun, but we do not recommend this due to the increased chances of skin cancer. Please contact your provider if you have any further questions about this.
You've got a great story to tell, but I'm going to ask you a question. Why do we keep doing the same thing over and over? Why are we creatures of habit?
Right. Well, I guess that's the way we're made, right? But sometimes we really have to examine why it is we're doing the things we're doing. So I call it the pot roast story. My mom tells this story, how she would always cut the end off. When she and Dad got married, she would always cut the end off the pot roast, before she put it in the oven. And Dad was always like, well, Betty, why are you doing that? Well, then my grandmother moved in with us. And there were 11 of us in a little house, 8 kids, Mom, Dad, and my grandmother, my Irish grandmother. And Dad finally asked her, he said, Mary, my Nana, Betty always cuts the end off the pot roast. What's up with that? Why do you do that? And she said, well, we asked, my mom, and Mom said, well, I do it because you do it. Yeah. You did it. And she's like, oh, I know. It's because during World War II, we had just a teeny tiny apartment with a teeny tiny oven. And I had to cut the end off the pot roast in order to fit it in the oven. So for years after, 20 years, my mom's cutting the end off the pot roast for no good reason. But her mom did it, it was good enough for her. So sometimes it might be a good idea to re-examine why is it we're doing certain things. So you go to a so-called estate planning attorney and they say, oh, you need a will, just a will. Maybe you need more. Maybe you need to be thinking about long-term care. It might work out better for you.
And you also need to communicate, right?
Communication is key.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you, Paul.
Direct care workers, family caregivers, what are they? What do they do? And why do we need them so desperately? Thank you so much, Jen, for being here to talk with us about those.
Hi, yes, thank you for allowing me to be here. Direct care workers, it's a broad spectrum, right? Because a lot of times if we think of a direct care worker, we think of a certified nursing assistant. But that's not really the case, because there's a lot of people that work within other facilities, assisted living facilities, in-home care, that aren't certified. Family caregivers, they are all direct care workers. And a lot of times they don't see themselves as such. So it's important that we raise the awareness about what a direct care worker is, so that we can get those people involved and recognize them for the work that they do.
Absolutely. And Michigan is one of the fastest aging states in the nation. And so the older we get, the more we're going to depend on people to kind of give us some assistance, right? For whether it's a direct care worker or a family caregiver. What are some of the criteria that's needed for a direct care worker?
Training. Lots and lots of training. This is not a job that you can go into without proper training, because there's just a lot involved. You think about taking somebody to the bathroom, but it's more than just taking somebody to the bathroom. It's how they get there, what they can do for themselves, what they can't do for themselves. You got to know those things, and you got to be able to help them in the areas they can't do that. Same with bathing and all these other areas that we take care of people. And it's also, it's a broad spectrum. It can start with companionship, and it goes all the way to end of life.
And thank you so much for what you do and for shining a light on what family caregivers and direct care workers do. Thanks for being here, Jennifer.
Thank you.
As appreciative as I am of AARP and all the wonderful work that we do, I'm even more appreciative of you watching AARP Real Possibilities.